So in this video, we're going to use the addition and subtraction rules for integers to simplify these numerical expressions. And if you forgot the rules, and make sure you go back to watch the previous video. Okay, so the first thing here, and this is, notice this is a simplified writing, and a lot of plus signs are omitted. If you ever have trouble doing this, and you can always add a plus sign back. So let's start with the first step. So when we have, we talked about in one of the previous videos, we talked about the order of operations. So usually we follow from left to right. And plus here, because we don't have any multiplication yet, so it's only plus and minus. And for plus and minus, they have the same priority. So you're going to just do whatever you see first. So first we're going to do -8 plus 10. And notice that these -8 and 10, one is negative, the other is positive. So they have opposite signs. So which is the credit plus debt plus credit case. And so you're going to have to pick the sign in front of larger. So 10 doesn't really have a sign in front of it, but because the plus sign is omitted. So when you don't have a minus sign, that means it's positive. So 10 is positive. And so we pick the sign the larger, which gives us positive. And then we see how much more credit we have. So we do 10 minus 8, that gives us 2. So you can write down the answer as positive 2 or just 2 for the first addition. So I put a positive 2 here, but the plus sign again can be omitted. Now we're going to work on positive 2 minus 5. And this is a subtraction question. But the quickest way to do here is you could, because there's a plus sign actually that is omitted. So you could put a plus sign back in front of the second number. So this turns this into addition question, because addition is easier than subtraction. So you're going to do positive 2 plus -5, which again, it's credit plus debt, larger debt. So the answer should be minus. And then 5 minus 2 gives us 3. So it's -3. Again, take the sign. If you remember the rule, we pick the sign of in front of larger number. 5 is larger than 2. So we take this sign, and then we subtract 5 and 2. We got 3. So together, put the sign number together, that's -3. Okay, next we're going to work on the last, same thing. We can also, when we have subtraction, if you're not sure what to do, some of the students might be able to see the answer directly. If you can put a little plus sign in front of the second number. And now it's debt plus debt. So we get a larger debt, which means we keep the minus sign. And then we combine 3 and 11, which means we add 3 and 11 to get 14. So it's the answer, keep the sign, add the numbers, it's -14. So it makes sense that when we combine two debts together, we get a larger debt. All right, so let's look at the second example. So again, we followed from the order from left to right. So 19 minus 25. Again, if you have trouble, put the plus sign, which is omitted, back. So first, again, if you have trouble doing this type of question, maybe you should always do 2 steps. First, determine a sign. So this is the credit. Positive 19 means credit, plus -25, which means that's a debt. So credit plus debt, we have to check, do we have more credit or more debt, right? So we pick the sign in front of larger number. 25 is larger than 19. So we should end up with a minus number. And then 25 is how much bigger than 19? So we have to do a subtraction here, which gives us 6. So we have $6 more debt than credit. So that's the answer, -6. And then we're going to work on -6 minus 13. Again, let's put back that plus sign, which is omitted. So we're going to do -6 debt plus debt, because both are negative. So we get a larger debt. So we keep the minus sign and combine 6 and 13 to give, which means addition. So that gives us -19. Okay, now, right, the final step here, we cannot, it doesn't really help us if you put another plus sign here, because you have a minus and another minus, right? So you have 2 more signs that you have to deal with. So in this case, we are not going to put a plus sign. This is the case here. We have to use the subtraction rule. Most of the problems I was able to avoid doing subtraction. I just put a plus sign in front of the second number. But in this case, we can't. So we have to use the rule. If you remember, the rule says keep, change, change. So we're going to keep the first number, -19. We keep it, copy it down. But then we're going to have to change this minus sign to a plus sign. Change. Minus always change it to plus. And then we're going to change the sign of the following number. So if it's minus, we change it to plus. If it's a plus, we change it to minus. So this turns into a question of -19 plus plus 17. And I actually omitted one of the plus signs. You don't have to. So now it's debt plus credit. 19 is bigger than 17. That means we have more debt. So the final answer should be negative. And 19 is two more than 17. So because 19 minus 17 is 2, right? So the answer is -2. So that's how we use addition or subtraction rules to add or subtract numbers. Now we're going to look at how we evaluate algebraic expressions. So in previous examples, we did not have any variables. We are only given specific numbers. If we have a algebraic expression with, like, for example, x, y, z's, how do we evaluate these? So usually they will have to tell you what each of the variables are. So for example, x is 3. And here in the example 3, x is 3, y is 5, and z is -7. So what we need to do is we bring down this expression, algebraic expression, x plus y minus z. And then you're going to have to do some substitution. So just plug those numbers in here. Make sure you plug in the correct number. For example, x is 3. So we're going to write down 3 for x. Replace y with 5. And replace z with -7. So be very careful here because there's already a minus sign in front of z. And the z itself has a minus sign. So you're going to end up with 2 minus signs. So again, so 3 plug in for x, plus sign, bring down, you copy down, and 5 to replace that y. And this first minus sign here just comes from the expression given. So this corresponds to that minus. But the second minus sign comes from z itself because z itself has a minus. So we end up with 2 minuses together. Okay, after we plug in everything, so be very careful. I notice students make mistakes right here because they did not realize there's already a minus sign, and then z also has a minus sign. So somehow they just got rid of one of the minus signs. And so we have to try to make sure we don't make that mistake. So now we can evaluate. So 3 plus 5, it's 8. Now, when we do subtraction, we have 2 minuses. So we have to use the rule we talked about. Keep, change, and change. Do 2 sign changes. So this will turn the subtraction problem to an addition problem. So it's literally 8 plus 7, which gives us 15. Now, in the final example here, we're going to be doing the same thing. And notice that there's a minus sign in front of x. So x itself is positive. So I'm going to just replace x with 3, y with 5, and z with 7. But, so plug in with those numbers here. Plug in those numbers. But make sure when you plug in numbers, the signs given, say there's a minus in front of x, and there's plus in front of y and z, minus in front of z. These signs, we cannot get rid of them. We have to bring them down. Okay, so this minus, bring down, just plug in 3 for x, plus, bring down, plug 5 in for y, and minus, bring down, plug 7 in for z. So now, after substitution, we're going to evaluate -3 plus 5. So it's $3 debt plus $5 credit. So remember, we picked the sign the larger because we have more credit. So the answer is going to be positive. And then do 5 minus 3, which gives us 2. So that's positive 2. I omitted the plus sign. And then we're going to do 2 minus 7. If you have trouble doing this, I know a lot of students probably can just look at this and are able to tell what the answer is, say -5. But if you have trouble doing that, put a plus sign in front of the second number. Again, there's a plus sign that is omitted. So you will add $2 credit plus $7 debt. 7 is bigger than 2, so we're going to take the sign in front of 7, which is minus, and then we're going to subtract the 7 and 2. 2 gives us 5, because we have $5 more debt than credit. Okay, and so this is how we use addition and subtraction rules to add into or subtract integers.